All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a story from our source material that is, well, it's pretty hard to believe. We're talking about a brilliant scientist, a discovery that could have changed the world, and the shocking lengths the government went to literally burn it all to the ground. So let's just lay out the facts here, because this really does sound like something out of a movie. Picture this, 1956, American soil. The US government sends agents to raid a scientist's lab. They don't just seize things. They take axes and smash his research equipment to bits, and then they take tons of his books and burn them. This wasn't some rogue operation. This was the FDA. And that right there, that violent official act of destruction, it just leads to this one huge question that's going to drive everything we talk about today. What on earth were they so terrified of? To even begin to answer that, you have to get to know the man at the very center of this storm, a guy named Dr. Wilhelm Reich. Now, Reich was a really brilliant and, a very controversial figure. He was actually one of Sigmund Freud's star pupils before he broke away to chase a much bigger idea. The idea that life force wasn't just a metaphor, but a real physical energy. So what was Reich's big, supposedly heretical idea? Well, according to our source, he claimed he'd actually identified and measured that life force energy that ancient cultures talked about, chi or prana. He gave it a new name, orgone, and he insisted it wasn't some mystical woo-woo concept. No, it was a real, physical, measurable force that pulses all around us, the biological expression of what modern physics calls the zero-point field. Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting. Reich didn't just stop at observing this energy. No, he claimed he actually built machines that could harness it, that could concentrate it and use it. And this is where his work went from being just a scientific theory to what the powers that be saw as a real, direct threat. So, his main invention was called the Orgone Accumulator, or ORAC for short. And think of it like a battery for life energy. What's so wild is how simple it was. You can see it here. He just layered organic stuff like wool, which he found absorbs this orgone energy, with inorganic metal, which reflects it. And by doing that, he basically created a trap that would pull this energy right out of the air and concentrate it inside the box. And the results he reported from his clinical trials, they were absolutely mind-blowing. People would sit inside these boxes, just bathing in this concentrated energy, and apparently their bodies would start to heal at an incredible rate. His research claimed it could speed up wound healing, supercharge the immune system, and even shrink cancerous tumors by raising the energy level of healthy cells so they could fight back. And if you think that's wild, get this. He didn't just stop at healing the human body. He scaled this whole idea up, building these things he called Cloudbusters. We're talking arrays of pipes grounded in water that he claimed could actually tap into the atmosphere's energy flows, break up stagnation, and literally milk it rain in the middle of a drought. So let's just recap for a second. We're talking about healing diseases and ending droughts with simple devices that anyone could build and that you couldn't patent. Yeah, you can probably start to see why some people got a little nervous. The source material frames this as a massive, fundamental threat to the whole system. And here's the real kicker, the point that you just can't miss. Reich's work was basically handing people the tools to control their own lives. I mean, the power to heal yourself, the power to influence the weather, and all of it using energy that's free, that's just all around us. It completely bypasses the entire medical industrial complex, the system of patented drugs and crazy expensive procedures. In a lot of ways, it even bypasses the state itself. It was, for all intents and purposes, a science of pure liberation. So you have this incredibly disruptive technology. How do you think the system responded? Well, it wasn't with a healthy scientific debate, I can tell you that. As our source puts it, what happened next was nothing short of a modern-day inquisition. Just look at how quickly and systematically this all went down. First, in '54, the FDA gets an injunction against him, one that was reportedly based on some pretty shady claims. Then, 2 years later, it gets physical. Armed FDA agents raid his lab and literally take axes to his equipment, smashing it all to pieces. And then, they burn the books. We're talking tons of his life's work, journals, research, everything, tossed into an incinerator in New York City. Reich himself gets thrown in prison, and he dies there, supposedly of heart failure, just days before he was up for parole. So let's be clear about what the source material is claiming here. This wasn't about protecting people from a quack. This was a purge. The goal was to completely erase a scientific idea that threatened the established systems of control and profit because, you can't control it and you certainly can't patent it. And that brings us to this final, really chilling thought from our source. It says, if you want to know what the Archonic system fears most, look at what they are willing to burn books and assassinate scientists to hide. They fear the science of resonance. So the story of Wilhelm Reich, it just leaves you with this really uncomfortable question. If they did this out in the open, what other kinds of liberating knowledge might have been completely buried over the years? And what does that really mean for all of us today?